and a very warm welcome to the national news of Rupavahini. I'm Delanjali Ananda.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we'll take a look at the headlines.
Gas prices will not revise this month. State Finance Minister says an issue will occur in economic management if the expenditure lineup is changed. Wholesale prices of vegetables at Kapitipala Economic Centre decline. Tiger Cubs celebrate their birthday. Hairpin bends open for vehicular movement. UN chief slams wealthy countries' treatment of poor states. Now for those and other stories in detail. Litro Gas Company says the prices of the domestic gas cylinders will remain unchanged this month. The company made these remarks in a statement issued to media.
The Litro Gas Company says that the price of a gas cylinder has to be increased according to the price formula and the gas prices in the world market. However, the company has decided not to increase the gas prices following the appreciation of value of the rupee against the US dollar. State Minister Ranjit Simalapati says that if the expenditure line up has to be revised, the country will have to face an issue over the economic management. He made these remarks while speaking to the media in the Hiovita area. The State Minister said that there are a set of approved fiscal expenditures, and he said that the country is seeing a negative economic outlook. Therefore, he said that the government is unable to achieve the expected revenue. Accordingly, he added that they have an expenditure lineup in order to cover the basic requirements. He said that during this month, they have already spent on pensions, samurdhi payments, textbooks, printing, and for paddy purchasing, and then they have to look up into the salary payment as well. He said that they are planning to use the existing funds for the payments and the rest to be paid during the treasury bonds. He added that if this lineup is disrupted, then the country will experience an issue of the economic management. Well, the residents in Udumagama village in Kegol have come up with a very innovative idea to raise funds for the reconstruction of the Udumagama-Debatgama road. Accordingly, the residents in the area have requested the authorities on numerous occasions throughout the years to reconstruct the 4-kilometer road from Udumagama to Debatgama via Pandenia. However, they have alleged that none of the politicians of the area failed to address the issue and provide a feasible solution to the residents. Accordingly, the residents came up with an innovative idea to proceed with the reconstruction of the road without depending on politicians. The residents unanimously decided to organize a fair in order to collect funds for the development of the road. With 200,000 rupees collected from the fair and the donations received, the residents began the reconstruction of the village road. Around 400 families in the area are expected to receive benefits following the reconstruction of this road.
Now, protests were organized in several parts of the country yesterday based on several demands. Another protest was held in Keselvatte area in Panadura last evening. The protesters demanded to reduce the living costs, electricity tariffs and taxes, and urging the authorities to hold the elections and uphold democratic rights. Another protest was held in Batuandara, Kasbava against the increase of the electricity tariffs. It was organized by the National People's Power. The National People's Power also organized a protest last evening in Varakapula against the increased electricity tariffs. The protest organised by Samik Janabala Vege was held at the Sidwa Junction last evening. The protesters demanded the authorities to conduct the local government elections and against increased electricity tariffs.
The Director General of Trade Unions to the President, Saman Ratnapriya, during a media briefing today, made remarks over the professionals' protest trend and the local government polls. He said that the public sector worker who earns around 150,000 rupees has to allocate 3,500 rupees for the destitute through taxation. He said that there is a considerable amount of people who are unable to suffice 3 meals a day. Therefore, he inquired whether it's unjustifiable and justifiable for the professionals to protest, claiming that the taxation is high. He said that it is not suitable for conducting of the elections at this point of time, considering the economic situation. He added that the local government election is not an election which determines the political change in the country.
But the wholesale prices of vegetables at the Capitipolo Economic Centre in Valimata have declined rapidly. Accordingly, the farmers have claimed that the sharp decline of prices have caused grave difficulties to them. However, the wholesale prices of various vegetables remained above 200 rupees in the recent past. However, the prices have reduced to the level of 100 rupees at present. The farmers have claimed that even though a lower price is determined for their products, the consumers will not receive any benefit from the price decline. High inflow of vegetable stocks and the decline of traders visiting the centre from outstations have caused the price decline. Now, Foreign Minister Ali Sabri held wide-range talks with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar yesterday. The discussions were mainly focused on facilitating Sri Lanka's economic recovery as well boosting bilateral trade.
Minister Ali Sabri in New Delhi to attend the Raisina Dialogue, which is a multilateral conference held annually in India. India extended financial assistance worth around $4 billion to Sri Lanka, including lines of credit for purchases of food and fuel last year when it was reeling under a severe economic crisis, The Hindu reported. New Delhi also provided guarantees to the IMF to help the country secure a $2.9 billion bailout package. Minister Sabri, in a tweet, described the meeting as constructive. The minister further said that he met with Minister Dr. Jaishankar during his official visit to New Delhi. He added that their constructive bilateral meeting and reviewed the current status of the Indo-Lanka relations. Minister Sabri also said that he met with Brazilian Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira and Slovenian Foreign Minister Tanja Fajon in New Delhi on the sidelines of the Raisina Dialogue recently.
The Foreign Minister Ali Sabri lauded the support extended by India during the economic crises faced by the country. He made these remarks during an interview with WION, English news channel in India. During the interview, he emphasized the renewed approach for bilateral and regional cooperation and trade agreements in South Asia.
How will you characterize this relationship between Sri Lanka and India?
Well, Sri Lanka-India relationship is one of the most important relationships, if not the most important for Sri Lanka, because it's not a singular angle one. It is a sharing of a civilization, you know. So if you look at the religious, cultural, social, economic and neighborhood, so we are a multi-pronged relationship for the long period of time. If you look at the Buddhism, which cherished by the Sri Lankans, about 70% of the Sri Lankans or 72% of the Sri Lankans are followers of Buddhism. It's a gift from your country, you know. So therefore, it's a great relationship. It's nothing like any other relationship. So therefore, it's very important. And more than that, right now, with India rising, with so much of potentials and so much of advancement it is taking, there's a great opportunity for Indians and the Sri Lankans to collaborate together and create a situation which is win-win. Good for Sri Lanka, good for India, and good for the region. So we are looking forward, and we are, to be honest, we are very excited to see how India is progressing, because we know that can spill over, that can influence Sri Lanka and the whole region. I am a firm believer of it is that regions which develop, European Union region, you know, the North American region, the Middle Eastern region, or the ASEAN region. This is the turn for South Asia. India is leading it, and we all want peace, stability, and progress for all. So we are very hopeful, exciting times ahead.
Any plans for trading arrangement when it comes to the Indian rupee and the Sri Lankan rupee? Any conversation happening?
Yes, of course, it's happening in big time. We are looking at just what you did with the Singaporeans. We are talking, and even yesterday I saw there was discussions going on. We are very keen to do that because we understand 300 million Indians traveling. Why not come to Sri Lanka, most of them, and use your own currency? So we are trying to provide a platform for that. That's a great potential of doing it, and I'm sure there will be significant milestones in months to come, not years to come, months to come, in terms of renewable energy, in terms of integration, in terms of currency swaps, and also integration with the whole Indian apparatus there. So that's what I say, that exciting time for the whole South Asia, led by India.
Can I say that by the end of this year, an Indian tourist, if he goes to Sri Lanka, can use Indian rupee to buy a souvenir?
That's what we are looking at. I'm hopeful it will happen. So it will be good, so that not only that, we want more connectivity. I'm grateful that one of the Sri Lankan private airlines are flying now to one of the private airlines is now flying from Madras to the Jaffna. And Vistara has just started, so more connectivity, and then we are also looking at ferry service from Tamil Nadu to Colombo, which is not Colombo, rather to Jaffna, KKS, 18 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 40 minutes probably you are there. So this is the kind of connectivity we want to create, so put people to people contact. And we cannot be living in the past or forever. There is a great relationship we have had for a long period of time. It is a time for us to rekindle it and strengthen it.
And what about defense partnership or defense relationship? We gave Dornier last year, and I believe there's one on the anvil as well.
Yes, defense. I think recently we had the defense discussions here in New Delhi. Those discussions are ongoing. So we have always underlined the fact that any legitimate concerns of India will be taken into consideration. But like any sovereign countries, we will have to still work with all the countries in the world. So we understand, and we are continue to talk, and there are good level of understanding between senior officials in both defense, external affairs, in all the ministries together. So I'm sure issues will come up from time to time. We should not be too excited about it. We should sit, discuss, and resolve those things. And I'm sure we all understand that, and we will find a way to strengthen the relationship and to create absolutely peaceful environment both in the region as well as in the Indian Ocean. So it is good for everybody.
But China will deepen financial reforms and improve its regulatory regime to guard against risks to the economy and further open up to foreign investment, Premier Li Keqiang said today.
Well, the government will fend off risks of high-quality property and firms that reduce the burden of interest payments for local governments. The outgoing Premier said in his work report to the opening of the annual meeting of China's Parliament. Well, this came after the state media reports that President Xi Jinping's plans for an intensive and wide-ranging reorganization of state-owned enterprises and Communist Party entities. President Xi Jinping is set to deepen his control of China's government and economy as lawmakers meet in Beijing to pass far-reaching reforms. The National People's Congress will confirm President Xi's third term in the top position and the appointments of his top team. This year's sessions are particularly significant as delegates are expected to reshape several key Communist Party and state institutions. They will also tighten controls over bodies overseeing the finance sector and scientific and technology work, while strengthening party building work in private businesses. As part of the meeting, it was announced that China will pursue a reduced economic growth targeting of about 5% this year, while defense spending is to rise by more than 7%. The National People's Congress will also unveil the new premier China's equivalent of a prime minister, who traditionally oversees the economy and administrative aspects of governance.
The tiger cubs born at the Dehiwala Zoological Park last year celebrated their first birthday today. The cubs were born to the tigers Killa and Robin, who arrived in Sri Lanka from the Xiangjiang Safari Park in China in year 2006. The cubs were born to the tiger couple on March 5th last year. The cubs have been named Akira, Duma and Dio. The birthday celebration was organized for the audience to observe the natural behavior of the tigers. The cubs were given the opportunity to enjoy their meals in freedom by keeping the meat they consume in replicas of the artificially made herbivorous animals. The celebrations were organized under the supervision of Director General of Dehiwala Zoological Park, Dr. Tilak Premakanta.
The Criminal Investigation Department has commenced an investigation over the charges pertaining to the Alla and Sitavaka Odyssey railway journeys. The ministry has said that the charges were levelled following an attempt made to sell a ticket for the price of $99.99 to a passenger via the internet. Well, this was reported in a weekend newspaper. The private company has made an attempt to sell a ticket at a rate of 36,000 rupees via the internet. Reports have indicated that the Sitavaka Odyssey tourist train had not been deployed on time, even though the train was fully booked. The train is scheduled to leave Colombo Fort around 7 a.m. Minister Bantula Gunawardene has requested the IGP to conduct an investigation whether an act of sabotage is in process within the railway department. The CID has already commenced an investigation over the Alla Odyssey train at present. In addition, the minister has also requested to conduct an investigation on the Sitavaka Odyssey train as well. A discussion is scheduled to take place on March 7th with the railway department officers and the trade union representatives.
Now, a lorry has toppled down a precipice of 70 feet. 14 individuals who have travelled in the lorry have been hospitalized after sustaining injuries from the accident. The accident had occurred in the Nuwara Elia Gampala main road. The lorry, which was transporting vegetables to the Nuwara Elia Economic Centre, had met with the accident around 9 a.m. today. The individuals who sustained severe injuries from the accident are receiving treatments at the Nuwara Elia General Hospital, according to the police. 5 of the injured are in critical condition.
We now move on to more local news items in brief. The Kandy Mahayangana main road, which was closed near the 14th bend of the 18 hairpin bends due to an earth slip, has now been opened for vehicular movement. Following the earth slip, the Kandy Mahayangana road was closed since this morning. The wildlife officers have been able to capture a 13-feet-long crocodile in the Deltara Canal in Piliandala. Following an inquiry made over the missing cattle and dogs in the area during the past couple of days, it was revealed that the crocodile has been the cause behind the missing animals. According to the wildlife department, after being alerted by the residents of the area, managed to capture the crocodile live. The new Shangavasa attached to the Asgiri Mahavihare was declared open recently. It was opened under the patronage of the Chief Prelate of the Asgiri chapter, the Most Venerable Varakaguda Sri Jnanaratana Thera. The new Shangavasa was built with the approval of the Department of Archaeology due to the dilapidated condition of the Gunnapana ancient Shangavasa. Japan Anniversary Association took steps to officially declare March 5th as Sri Lanka Curry Day. The aim is to popularize Sri Lankan spices in Japan. Well, we take a short break and we're back with international stories shortly.
Prima Kotumi Fantamai.
Now on On your foreign news, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has condemned rich countries and energy giants for throttling poor nations with predatory interest rates and crippling fuel prices.
Well, in his speech on the opening day of the UN's Least Developed Countries Summit in Qatar yesterday, Guterres said that wealthy nations should provide $500 billion annually to help others trapped in vicious cycles that block their efforts to boost economies and improve health and education. The summit of the 46 least developed countries is normally held every 10 years but has twice been delayed since 2021 because of the pandemic. Afghanistan and Myanmar, two of the poorest countries, are not present at the meeting in Qatar's capital Doha because of their governments are not recognized by UN members. No leader from any of the world's major economies attended at the meeting. Summit opening, Guterres hit out straight away at the way poor nations are being treated by the more powerful. He said that the economic development is challenging when countries are starved for resources, drowning in debt and still struggling with the historic injustice of unequal COVID-19 response.
At least 6 people were killed and more than 30 were injured in an explosion at an oxygen plant in Kadam Razul area of Chittagong's Sitakunda Upazila in Bangladesh, police said. 5 of the deceased were identified. The identity of the other deceased could not be confirmed yet. Among the 6 deceased, a man was killed after being hit by a metal object that fell on him at Kadam Bazaar, about a kilometer away from the spot.
Moving into the U.S., storms producing tornadoes and heavy rains rolled through parts of the southern United States, killing at least 9 people and leaving over 1 million without power. The National Weather Service said the powerful storm had mostly left the south by late Friday and was moving to the northeast, where it was forecast to cause heavy snow and sleet from southeastern Michigan east to New York State. Parts of the central New York and southern New England may see over 30 centimeters of snow by yesterday afternoon. Kentucky governor said at least 3 people were killed in the severe weather, though he did not provide any more details. A 4th person was killed by the storm in Kentucky, a woman who died when a tree fell on the car she was in.
Inches of snow by Friday.
Now, nations have reached a historic agreement to protect the world's oceans following 10 years of negotiations. The High Seas Treaty places 30% of the seas into protected areas by 2030, aiming to safeguard and recuperate marine nature. The agreement was reached on Saturday evening after 38 hours of talks at UN headquarters in New York. The negotiations had been held up for years over disagreements on funding and fishing rights. The last international agreement on ocean protection was signed 40 years ago in 1982, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. The agreements established an area called the High Seas, international waters, where all countries have a right to fish, ship and do research, but only 1.2% of these waters are protected. Marine life living outside of these protected areas has been at risk from climate change, overfishing and shipping traffic. In the latest assessment of the global marine species, nearly 10% were found to be at risk of extinction, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Environmental groups have been concerned that mining processes could disturb animal breeding grounds, create noise pollution, and are toxic for marine life. Richer nations currently have the resources and funding to explore the deep ocean, but poorer nations wanted to ensure any benefits they find are shared equally.
Plans for UK's first carbon capture plant to reduce carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere. Well, the British government will announce where the UK's first carbon capture power station will be built in the next few weeks. Well, there are 3 proposals under the consideration for its location and requires the construction of a pipeline to transport the captured carbon dioxide under the North Sea for shortage and storage. The proposed site in Kebbi is next to the existing gas power station. Even if some of the emissions are captured, critics claim that burning more fossil fuels will continue to impact the global climate. In 2021, the UK emitted 425 million tons of carbon dioxide, but none of the three carbon capture plants proposed would be able to capture more than 2 million tons a year.
You will get a better outcome.
Prima Katami Fantamai.
The two-day practice test match between touring Sri Lanka and New Zealand Cricket 11 was ended in a draw today. The first test in the New Zealand series set to begin on the 9th of March in Christchurch.
Batting first, Sri Lanka managed to score 276 runs with a loss of 4 wickets for their innings prior to declaration. Kusal Mendis scored 95, while Oshada Fernando scored 78. New Zealand 11 scored 141 for the loss of 1 wicket before the match was ended in a draw. Dambulla secured the championship of the National Super League 4-day cricket tournament after defeating Galle in the finals. The match was played at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. Batting first, Dambulla scored 248 runs for their first innings. Galle in response only managed to score 187 runs for their first innings. Dambulla then scored 196 for their second innings. Chasing a target of 258, Galle only managed to score 182 in their second innings. Dambulla won the match by 75 runs. And in big match news, Anand Nalanda big match was ended in a draw today. The 93rd Battle of the Maroons was played at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Batting first, Nalanda scored 280 for the loss of 5 wickets in their first innings. In response, Ananda scored 235 for their first innings. Nalanda College declared the second innings when their score was 121 for the loss of 5 wickets. At close of play, Ananda was 22 runs for the loss of 2 wickets for their second innings. Thurston College Colombo secured a 4-wicket victory against Isipatana College Colombo in their annual one-day encounter. The match was played at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Batting first, Isipatana scored 203 for the loss of 9 wickets in their innings. In response, Thurston College managed to chase down the target in the 43rd over with 4 wickets in hand.
Katami Fantamai.
And that's all the news we have for tonight. Join us tomorrow at the same time for the very latest on Channel Eye. I'm Delanjali, together with Clifford, signing off. Goodbye.